Now then, people, it's Joe, it's All Leeds TV, and it's time for another episode of Monday Night Football. The Arsenal Debrief, that's what we're calling it, the Arsenal Debrief. That's the new name. So we'll have a little chat about the Arsenal game with, of course, Oscar and our guests. This week we have Paul from Leeds. How are you doing, Paul? All right?
Good, cheers. Thanks for having us.
Not a problem. And we've got Johnny Chick from this is a bit of a mouthful, the Bremner Square podcast on Leeds local TV, isn't it? Leeds Live.
Yeah.
How you doing, all right?
TV. No, good, thanks. How are you guys?
Yeah, all good, man, all good. Just before we do begin, I just want to remind everyone that this video and this show is sponsored by Football Prizes. The link to Football Prizes is in the description. This week, guys, you can get yourself a Jack Harrison signed and framed Leeds United shirt. I had a look earlier on. I think there's about 20 tickets still left. It ends this Wednesday. £4.95 a go, and of course, there are 99 tickets available. Alternatively, there's also a mint condition 1993-95 original Leeds United training top, which I think is absolutely special and something that I will be having a go at because I like my retro gear when I can get my hands on it. And if Leeds gear isn't for you, then you can also get, there's a Paul Gascoigne signed England Italian 90 shirt, Jan Vertonghen shirt, a Van Dijk one. There's even a 50-inch Samsung TV. So go check them out. Football Prizes, the link is in the description. And look, you can win because I won myself. I keep getting it out, but I won myself a signed Bielsa championship. Well, it's not. I did actually think it was a championship winning medal when I bought the ticket, and then I realised it's not. But he signed the box, so it's all good. But let's get straight into it. Then I just want to get your initial thoughts on the Arsenal game, as it were. We'll start with Paul. Talk to me about the game, mate. What are your thoughts? Is it 2 points dropped?
Well, this is a debate that we have regularly. Context of the game, definitely 2 points dropped. However, what you may have taken beforehand and what we needed, which was a clean sheet and a positive result after the last two games, point gained. So I could see both sides to it.
Yeah, I was listening to your pod not too long ago, and Andy gave you a bit of stick, did he, for saying that it was a decent point.
Well, we choose a word before the game and a word after, and I will admit that I knew that it would wind him up, so that was part of the reason I did it. But I said settle as my word after, but partially because I think it'll have settled a few nerves down as much as anything else. And when it got to that last 10 minutes, I just thought they're gonna nick it. They're gonna nick it. I was quite happy to take a point at that point, just because it felt like we could have played till probably Christmas and not scored last night, the way it was going. And although they haven't scored that much recently, they're just frightening players. What anyone in the Premier League is, they just seem to have that pace and that skill, and it just felt like they're not going to need much here to go away with 3 points. And I knew I'd be absolutely devastated. They've ruined the week if that had happened. So I thought, I can take a point here.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like straight after the game, I was dejected because I was like, I cannot believe we haven't won that game. We did a watch along, and LUFC Lewis was on with us, and he was saying, still 10 minutes to go. Well, it's a decent point, and I was like, Andy, no, we cannot take a point from this. We deserve all three. But like in reflection, I thought it'd take me longer to get over it. But today, I'm like, yeah, look, it stopped the rot. We'd conceded 8 goals in 2 games. In reflection, yeah, it's a decent point, but it means we've then got to go get something against Everton and then that team in London, which I can't wait for that game. Obviously, Chelsea in the not too distant future. Johnny, what are your thoughts yesterday on the game, mate?
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's like Paul said. Arsenal are like a team. When you go into a game, you take a point. Like, before we came into the Premier League, these are the games you look forward to. And these are the games where you're like home or away or just take anything against the top 6. A lot of the top 6 teams struggle against each other. So anything that we can take against these teams is good. But then in the game, and to have them down to 10 men for a good pretty much half of football, and to not put the ball in the back of the net was just so frustrating. Like all the chances we created, obviously some of them were long range shots. It was good to see us shooting outside the box. Some of them were just chances that we really should have stuck away, like minus the ones that hit the woodwork. Should have probably stuck at least one or two of the other ones away. But it's a clean sheet, like you say. We conceded 8 goals in the last 2 games, and to keep a clean sheet and against a team who are Aubameyang's a world-class striker. He's been compared to one of the best strikers in the league. And to keep him contained, Robin Koch and Liam Cooper, for them to keep a clean sheet against him and other good players, I'd say that's a great positive. Just sit the ball in the back of the net next time and we should be fine.
Yeah, man, definitely. And guys, anyone watching, please smash a like and share, subscribe. And if you're watching on Twitter, please do hit a retweet. Oscar, for me, I think one of the key things, the turning points in the game, obviously the red card. And get your thoughts on the red card. But I think what it enabled Arteta to do was actually switch to his favoured style. He's been getting a lot of pressure from the fan base to play 4 at the back, to play Aubameyang through the middle, stop playing in wide left, stop, we've heard him called the tapas pulis by Arsenal fans, genuinely, Sam Allardyce football, all this sort of stuff. He does that, and I think we're still getting the better of him. I mean, we were much better in the first half. The sending off comes and it enables him then to change it up. They go with 5 at the back and they're much harder to break down. And I know people say it's sometimes more difficult against 10 men, but I genuinely feel that was the fact yesterday. I think it sounds crazy, but it sort of helped Arsenal and it made it more difficult for us to score, Oscar.
I think he definitely did. I think the favourite nickname for Arteta after that game, when I saw an Arsenal fan say this, and it was Sexy Sam Allardyce was the best one for me. That's the best one. But to be fair, Arteta, in a way, I know he was fuming with Pepe, but he'll think to himself, you know what, he's probably got me out of a bit of stick there, because if had Arsenal had 11 men on the pitch and had 9 shots on goal against us, which, to be fair, we are statistically the worst team defensively in the league. I don't think we are the worst team defensively, but we are statistically. You look at it and think that's really kind of done him a bit of a favour that in the end, because I don't think Arsenal would have won the game even 11-11. I still think we were well in the ascendancy. Certainly first half, that last sort of 20 minutes of the first half, sort of 25 minutes into the game, we're having shots on goal. Leno's pulling off wonder saves. We're having shots from distance. So when John's just mentioned there, it's just encouraging to see. I think. But what I will say is that, it did make it more difficult for us, I think, when they went down to 10 men. The fact it forced Arsenal to kind of just literally have Aubameyang up front with no one within kind of 40 yards of him in terms of the Arsenal team. It made it more difficult for us to break them down in that sense. But I think what the encouragement I'll take from it is that we were trying something a bit different. I think against Leicester, Palace, Wolves, the other kind of games where teams have sat in a bit more, had a lot of the ball, a lot of the territorial advantage, etc., etc. But we tried something a bit different yesterday. We had shots from distance, and we've got players who can score goals from distance. Rodrigo, Raphinha, Koch, Paddy Bamford so far this season from distance, and even Jack Harrison with his right foot, scored one from distance this season. And it's encouraging to see that, because I think that's what we're going to need, a bit more variety against those teams that sit in. Because if you watch that and you'll say Sheffield United or Burnley or anyone like that, you're not going to try and play football against Leeds. You're going to try and do the exact same thing as what Arsenal did yesterday. Sit in, and we've just got to find another way to break those teams down. But I'm mostly positive, mate. I said after the post-match that it was 90% positive for me. The only slight frustration was the finishing. That was the only slight frustration. The chances we had in the box, maybe we could have done a little bit better with them. There's a few that if you play them back, you think, on another day we probably score those. But positive, mate. Positive. That's all I can take from it, mate.
Yeah, definitely. You have to. You have to take the positives, don't you? I don't know. Someone's just put in who's doing pig noises. I've just put in a little private chat. I was like, whose phone's growling? I can hear something growling. I don't know what it was. I was like, I don't know. I don't know if someone's phone was vibrating or whatever, but I kept hearing this. I was like,
Is it still going on now?
No.
Is it still going on now? Can you not hear it? Okay.
No.
Well, it's basically, I'm in uni accommodation, and someone's decided to put like a piano electric guitar thing on above stairs. And I don't know if it's that or not. So if that
It
does
possibly
happen,
could
I'll just
be
mute my mic.
It might be a bass because it was very like.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. No,
Nice.
I'll mute my mic if it carries on.
It's fine. So obviously, Oscar, the positives. I mean, I guess let's talk about the sending off, because I touched on it earlier. It was a point in which changed the game. I think there's been a lot of stuff. I've had friends text me and say, "Oh, Alioski's made a meal of it, etc., etc." For me, I don't get that, because if a guy like puts his head towards you, you're gonna go down. You've got to go down, because if he stays on his feet, is it still a red in the ref's eyes? I'm not so sure. Does he get the sending off? I think personally, Alioski was getting the better of Pepe. That's where the frustrations come from. They showed us on Sky the little bits of niggle prior to that. And it looked like to me Alioski's getting the better of him, and Pepe comes and approaches him and puts his head on him. And what's he expected to do? Of course, he's going to hit the deck. I don't know what's your thoughts on that, Paul?
Well, just thinking about it then, Alioski's done his job to perfection, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's wound the guy up whilst committing no fouls. He's drawn him in, and the guy stuck not on him. So he couldn't have done it any better. And when you hear, when they get the faintest of touches in the box and things, and they say he's earned the right to go down. Well, Alioski earned the right to go down when he's been headbutted, hasn't he? So I'm not having any of that. It's I know. I don't know. Like, a friend texted me who was a Scum fan, to be fair, and he was like, I won't be happy if it were one of my players. And I'm like, well, I don't care. I don't care. Of course, he's got to go down. He can't. I don't. What are you saying, Oscar? You muted, mate. Was it you growling? Is that why you've muted?
With Bruno Fernandes in the team, he's saying that.
You make a good point. But what are your thoughts on Alioski, Johnny? Good performance yesterday, I thought.
I thought he had a good performance. Like when he's put a left back, and that's where he was. I think that's where he shines the most. I must admit, before Bielsa came in that first season we had him, when he was at left wing, I really didn't like him. I must admit, he was probably one of my least favourite players. But then he got put in left back, and I think it was that West Brom game where we beat him 4-0, and he got put in left back, and he worked so hard. I think he got his goal, and that was when I really changed opinion on him. And you do, when you watch purely him, like on the pitch, you do see he works so hard, and I thought he was actually quite good yesterday. And with the obviously sending off, I think if he doesn't go down there, I don't think VAR looks at it. I don't think they really have a reason to look at it if he doesn't make a meal of it. I don't know how much they track like what's going on the pitch at what times, but certainly without VAR, if he didn't go down, they definitely wouldn't have picked up on it. So I think, for him to go down, it's a headbutt. You're not really allowed to do that. Because if you were, then Berardi would have been having a field day out there. So, you shouldn't. I think it's a red card. Arsenal fans are furious with him. But then some of the stuff that's come on online afterwards, it's just ridiculous. It's a red card. Just leave it, honestly.
Yeah. There's been some unsavoury comments, I think, to both of them as well, which is just bang out of order. But I get what you're saying about Alioski. I remember seeing him, especially playing at left wing, and him being offside more than he was on. And I think when he's in that left back role, he can see the game in front of him. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's where we get the best out of Alioski. I think my only concerns with him is just his decision making. Whenever that ball drops to him outside the box, I'm like, just don't shoot. But then at the odd occasion, I mean, Huddersfield, I think it was, wasn't it, when he scores that beauty. So but more often than not, it ends up in Rowe's head, doesn't it? Let's be honest. But just on Nicolas Pepe as well, like obviously a lot of Arsenal fans have been calling and screaming for him to start over Willian. Arteta maybe doesn't think he's all that, massive price tag, 72 million. Arteta says, you know what? Let's give him a shot. Let's give him a try. And I mean, do you think, Oscar, will we see him again? Like, because Arteta was pretty savage towards him as well in the post match, and to do that, to be given a chance and to let your side down by, it wasn't provoked. There was nothing Alioski did. Nothing's come out in the wash. I've seen a crazy Arsenal fan trying to insinuate something. I don't know if you guys seen it on Twitter where the guy said, "I noticed there are no black players in the Leeds United squad." I mean, Kalvin, Tyler, Rodrigo, Raphinha, all this are not Caucasian. These comments were made. It's just people clutching at straws. Probably shouldn't go there, but it just angered me. It angered me because he was just looking for a reason as to why Pepe would have reacted. There was no reason. He's let his side down. He's a £72 million flop for me. Do you think we'll see him again? Does Arteta put trust in him again, Oscar?
I don't know. I follow a couple of Arsenal fans on Twitter, and a lot of them have said that they think it will either make or break him. That moment, it'll either really humble him and get sort of make him real. Because he said a couple of things before the game, which is actually quite funny looking back at it, where he said, "I want to play more. I should be starting games and that lot." And he said that in the media, and he gets himself sent off in his first start. In fact, like less than an hour into the game. But yeah, it'll either make or break him. He's still quite a young player. And to be fair, I thought at times he's probably Arsenal's most threatening player going forward. He's probably the only player I was looking at and thinking, "Oh, I'll tell you what, if we lose the ball in a bad area, he could punish us." But I thought Alioski did a good job on him all in all. I thought before the game I was looking at it and thinking, "Ooh, I'm not sure about that battle. I'm not sure about that matchup." But Alioski defensively did nothing wrong. As Paul says, it was the perfect game. The fact is he wound up Pepe without giving away free kicks, purely off the ball. And then anything on the ground, 1v1, he was winning as well. But yeah, look, I think it's going to be difficult for him to get back in the team now. I think he's going to have to really do something in the Europa League or in the cup competitions, because I don't think he's going to get many chances in the league, because I think Arteta is all of a sudden, 11th in the table, not scored for 5 games, I think it is, in open play, something mad like that. He's got to go players he can trust now. So yeah, I think he is in a bit of bother, I think he's definitely in a bit of bother there. But the other thing I'm just going to talk about is that Kieran Tierney thing. I mean, there's something about Arsenal fans. There really is something about Arsenal fans. I'm watching some of their reaction to it.
Like this guy here. Did you see Ty when he was going, "Why did he get a yellow card? Why did he get a yellow card for putting his head there?" Just like, what? That guy.
I'm surprised Ty wasn't complaining because it was raining and that lot. It's just like, honestly, but Arsenal fans, they always blame someone else apart from themselves. It's the same as the team. It's the same as everything about Arsenal for the last 15 years. Always blame someone else and always bottle it in the big occasions. And to be fair, they're making a massive thing about Kieran Tierney. I mean, what do we do? It's just like, it's at the end of the game. Who cares? It's absolutely irrelevant. It sums up Arsenal as a club, really, that they're making such a big thing about that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I just find it funny how Arsenal fans try to make out like Kieran Tierney's like the next Roy Keane or something.
I think they're clutching, aren't they? If that's the only positive they've been able to take out of the game is the fact that Tierney's had a go at Alioski, then that shows you where they're at, doesn't it? Really,
he's about 5'6".
Yeah.
I don't know what he thought he was going to do anyway, but anyway.
Just on yesterday, obviously, we had a number of chances, Paul. And I remember watching the game and doing the watch along, and I don't think there's anything other that the lads could have done. Like normally, say, you might find Patrick Bamford in that position when he gets that header. I think it's a good ball in from, I think it might have been Paveda at the time when he hits the post. And sometimes we can look back and say, oh, he's hit it wrong. But for me, it was a perfect header. I suppose you can't call it perfect because it didn't end up in the back of the net. But is there any really of them opportunities yesterday that you look at and think, we should be scoring that?
It's interesting because that header was, I know it was a similar kind of time in the game to the one against Sheffield United where it's gone just in on the right side of the post. And that one's hit the post and come back out. And it would have been the same narrative as the Sheffield United game, whereas we've come away from that with a 1-0 win. I don't know. I think it fell to occasionally the wrong person. It fell to Ayling. He's fallen on Click's left a few times. And what did he say afterwards? That his left foot wasn't online or something along those lines. But yeah, it's one of them games where if you replayed it, you would like to think that a few of those half chances you would score. But I don't remember any of them sitting going, that was the one, that was the one, and we've lost it, we've missed that. And how did they pick themselves up? They just kept plugging away. I felt it was a game where we really screamed out for Pablo's influence, which was disappointing, because in those kind of games, and I always think back to like the games against Wigan where they've sat in like that. And obviously Wigan didn't have anything like the quality that you're going to come up against when you're playing teams like Arsenal who can sit in like that. But it's when Pablo picks it up in that kind of towards the edge of the middle third, and he's looking around and he's making those passes that other people just can't do. And I think we're going to probably talk about Robin Koch, but it was the worst thing I've ever had to do in agreeing with Gary Neville. But when Koch picking the ball up and just lofting it to the keeper probably 3 or 4 times, and they're just then going down on the ball and taking a minute to reset. It was we that's probably what we lacked, and maybe Rodrigo for longer, or a fully fit Rodrigo, or a Pablo Hernandez for more in that game, and it would have made those the players that we're going to need to make a difference in those tight spaces, because we're going to face this not just against 10-man Arsenal, we're going to face it a hell of a lot throughout this season.
Yeah, I think the more the season goes on, the more likely we're going to see that, aren't we? Teams setting up that way. Johnny, I think for me, I vaguely remember the only probably one was the one that dropped to Dallas on his right foot, and he swings his foot and it goes well wide. Like Paul said, if Rodrigo's fit and he starts from the start, I know he's primarily left-footed, but he's that one that we expect for him to nestle in the back of the net.
Yeah, exactly. It's just unfortunate. Like, we saw the quality with Rodrigo when he hit that shot and hit the bar post, or like very close to scoring. And it's just those fine margins. Like, Dallas's shot wasn't too far wide. Bamford had a couple of good chances. I remember the one. I think one came in from the left hand side with Harrison, and he just tried to stab at it, and then the other one was on the other side with his left foot. He just tried to sort of poke it past Leno, and Dallas also had that other shot that was well saved, and obviously Raphinha had that shot in like the first 2 minutes that just went out of the stadium. But we created the chances, they were there. It felt like an old school kind of championship game. When that was sort of my fear when they went down to 10 men, it was just going to be attack versus defense, and we wouldn't be able to break them down. And obviously that was the case in the end. But we came close. They're a good team. They're a good club. So we'll take the point. But like I say, if we can just finish those chances and just keep, it almost felt like the more we kept pressing, the more it just wasn't going to go in the back of the net. It was just one of those days, unfortunately.
Yeah, I felt that as well. The longer it went on, it was just like, this is just not going to happen, man. We might as well just go now. Do you know what I mean? It just felt like one of them. Even the Raphinha one so late, where it dropped to him in the box and he smashed the post, man. It's just one of them. Just on that, Oscar, how impressed were you? I mean, I'd been calling prior to the game for Costas to come out of the side. I wanted Raphinha to start, and he did, and I was so impressed with him personally. I thought his cohesion and combinations he had with Klick, especially in the first half, he looked different gravy for me. Were you impressed with Raphinha, and were you impressed with him overall?
Yeah, definitely. I think saying about the combinations, it feels like already within the first game was Wolves, wasn't it? Second game Villa, third game Palace. I think every single game feels like he's already played 40 or 50 games for us, because he's so in tune with everything. He's so quick to adapt to this team. I think everything he's doing is the right things. I think that chance he has at the end of the game, which I think, to be fair, I'd say obviously kind of gets a bit unnoticed, that one he hit the post with, because I think we were all so tired at that point and accepting it was just going to be 0-0. And if we played till next Christmas, it was still going to be 0-0 kind of thing. But
it's a similar angle for the Costa one against Fulham, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's one that I think if he gets a second chance at that, next time he gets a chance like that, I think he sticks it in the back of the net. He was not far off, to be fair. Literally, Paul was saying before about the margins on Bamford's one, the margins on that one. At the end of the day, if it got a bit more our way, it's a 2-0 win, isn't it? You know what I mean? I don't
Four.
understand like tie, but it's a 2-0 win if we, if you just sharpen the post a little bit, It's one of those things. But Raphinha for me, it's just got a bit of everything about him. He can drop deep like Pablo does a little bit, and get the ball in the middle third and look up and just pick out passes. He can run in behind. He's got a goal in him for me. He's had a couple of really good efforts on goal. He's got creativity about him as well. He's decent on his right foot, and I think he ticks a lot of the boxes. And I think obviously, I've got to talk about Rodrigo as well. I think both players look absolutely superb. They look they look like Europa League / Champions League quality players for me. Definitely. I think the players that are going to elevate us to that next level. Maybe not so much this season, but if we're going to continue to build and build and build, it's players of that caliber that get you there. When you've got people like that, Rodrigo. How he's only scored 1 goal, I don't know. He must be the most unlucky player in Europe right now. You think of he's hit the post, he's hit the bulwark twice against City. He's hit it once against Wolves. He's hit it against Villa. Hit it the other day. Some really good saves off him as well. He's going to score a lot of goals for us this season, no matter where he plays. And I think it's those 2 players for me that are just going to lift us to that next level. In terms of last season's team's going to get us there as well, but it's those players that get you over the line for me. And top quality. Raphinha, absolutely superb for me.
Yeah. Paul, at full strength, I guess, would you want a Raphinha, a Rodrigo in there, Harrison on the left? You mentioned Pablo earlier, would you want Pablo in there with Koch, or how would you want it moving forward, just seeing the performance of Raphinha?
I think at full strength given experience and time, I think it would be Raphinha and Rodrigo that are in there. But it's great to have those options. And I think, like you say, it's amazing, really, that no one's questioning Jack Harrison's place in this team. And 2 years ago, he was there was every chance he was going to be one of those loan moves that didn't really work out. But what he's had is belief from the manager, opportunity, and you've just seen him grow and grow and grow and progress. And one of the things that James was saying on our show was that Raphinha reminds him a little bit of that, in that he has come in and shown in glimpses, but as he goes and goes and goes and builds with it, you think he's only going to get better and better. So I do think I agree with everything Oscar said. Really, those signings have come in it's not a steady the ship kind of signings. It's a let's move on to the next level. And as you get more transfer windows and more opportunities, ultimately over time, that team that got us to 15th, 13th in the championship are going to either have to keep stepping up their game to stay a part of this, or they're going to be replaced and become the subs. And Pablo's influence in the team over years is unquestionable, and he can still make a difference this season. But he isn't going to be first choice every game. But whereas you want him to be, you still want a Pablo around to have that option to come on and unlock things. What a great dilemma to have, though.
Yeah. No, you bang on, Paul. And you mentioned there, obviously, Harrison 2 years ago, and it made me think there as you said it, I don't know any player in this side that's still with us that's actually plateaued or gone backwards yet. They seem to just get better and better. You know what I mean, Johnny? You can't really think of anyone that has plateaued yet and we think, right, they've reached the ceiling. Because like you say, we've mentioned Alioski earlier, there's times where I've gone, no, but yesterday was brilliant, It's mad, isn't it? How just everyone, and like Paul says, Raphinha's just going to get better and better and better, because we've seen it with every player so far.
Yeah, exactly. Every player is just stepping it up, and that's the beauty of this squad. I really wanted to see Bielsa give a chance to all the players who got us up here. Even Pablo himself, you could quite easily replace Liam Cooper with a better centre back. That's doable, but I think the way Bielsa's trusted in a lot of this squad, and they are proving themselves as one of the best players. Another one, Luke Ayling, has been phenomenal for me. I mean, he obviously, there's criticisms of his defensive ability, but I think Phil Hay put an article out at some point saying Luke Ayling had one of the most touches or passes in the final third, only after Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson or something like that. Like he's fit into this Bielsa formation so well, and he's improving himself so much. I questioned Dallas a bit in the game against Liverpool, but I think he's proving himself again. I think obviously Pablo's the only one who's maybe sort of just maintained that level, but he's growing old as much as we don't want to sort of admit that. Maybe he isn't the player that we had 2 seasons ago, and I love Pablo. He's the best player I've ever seen put on a Leeds shirt. You know, he pretty much took us to the Premier League last season. You know, I hope he has a statue at some point, but you know, I still think, like Paul said, he can have a different effect on the side. I like to still see him have an effect and giving his chance again in the Premier League. And obviously Bamford's the one who's just excelled to another level as well. Like, people doubted him. There were doubts from everywhere. You know, he got 16 goals last season, but
even us, Johnny. Even us, Johnny.
No, exactly.
Even us.
Exactly. You know, we're all there to. We've all said stuff about him before. Like, should score that. Should score that. But he got 16 goals last season. It's just what else he could have had. But you know, he's proving everyone wrong this season, and you know, I think we've all got to count that goal against Palace that got disallowed. If he misses out on the golden boot by 1, then he should win it, because really count.
That's brilliant.
If he misses out on the golden boot by 1, I think we'll all be chuffed, because we'll have had a hell of a season.
I was going to say, I don't actually know why that's sort of like coming to my mind, that he's going to be there with Vardy and Vardy's going to have 1 more than him. Like, that's actually
why not?
It could. Exactly.
Mate, I was sent a tweet actually this afternoon, and Patrick Bamford is the only Premier League player to register a shot on target in every game this season. So why not? There's a stat for you. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't.
When you call him the league's best striker, people look at you weird. And you know, the people think he's not the league's best striker. I don't get them. He's the best striker in the league. He should be on the plane next summer.
Yes, love that.
Forget Kane. Forget Vardy.
Kane's past it.
Yeah, Kane's past it. Yeah, I was willy-nilly yesterday to score. I had money on him. I'd had this premonition that he was going to score against his old club and all that sort of stuff. And there was a few that dropped to him in the box, and I'm like willing him to score. But yeah, it didn't happen. Let's talk about a few individuals then. I've seen a few people mention it in the comments as well. Mention Robin Koch. I know I think you mentioned him on your podcast as well, Paul, that I was listening to earlier on Leeds. That, make sure you check that out. What are your thoughts on Robin Koch? Because I was quite surprised, because I said he had a good game. Someone commented on my video and said, I agreed with all your points. You were making sense until you said Koch had a good game. 5 out of 10, you're clueless. That's what I was told. I was like, right, okay. So then I went on social media and I seen someone say, I don't get where this is coming from about Koch. So it seems like there's
I'm glad you saw the comment, Joe, anyway.
What's that?
I'm glad you saw the comment anyway, Joe.
Oscar, start us off. Talk to me back. I thought he had a good game. Yeah. Bearing in mind as well, let's not forget, he's probably shipped about 20 goals in the last 3 games. You know, 6 for Germany, 8 for in Leeds. So, I mean, were you impressed with Koch?
I honestly thought he was outstanding. I know there was a few times on the ball towards the end of the game where he forced things a bit, and that's perfectly fair thing to say. I can't disagree with that. But for me, I look at it first and foremost. He's playing against a world-class centre forward in Aubameyang. And Aubameyang, he wanted to score yesterday like you wouldn't believe. He started the season badly. He's got this new contract. The pressure's on him. He wanted to score in that game. He's had 2 weeks now before that game, sitting on it, thinking, "Oh my word, Arsenal fans are having a pop at me. Am I over the hill?" All this lot. He wanted to score like you wouldn't believe yesterday. And I can't remember him having a proper chance in the game. And he was outstanding. And, I have to say, I thought Coops towards the end, a little bit sloppy towards the end, but Koch just held it all together. In terms of the whole back four, I think he held it together really well. But, there was a few times where he did give the ball away, but there's a few times also where he just split the Arsenal defence in half. At least twice in that second half with balls over the top where it did work. And sometimes, in a way, I do disagree with Gary Neville's analysis. I've heard it since the game, that Paul was referring to, that he was saying that he was forcing things too much. You just need to play it sideways. The chance will come. But I don't know. I think it's all well and good saying that if you're Man City or you're Liverpool, but at the end of the day, we're a promoted Championship club. We're not just going to get chances of just patient build up. We have sometimes got to force things a little bit, go a little bit more on the front foot, vary things a little bit. But defensively, I can't think of one thing Robin Koch did wrong yesterday. Luke Ayling sometimes caught out of position. Robin Koch across. Alioski, whenever he was slightly out of position, Robin Koch all the way over to the left-hand side, shepherding the ball out of play. I thought it was one of his best games for us defensively, to be honest with you, mate.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Paul, thoughts on Koch yesterday?
Well, I think when he started mixing it up and playing the long balls along the deck and things like that, but that's just talking about his offensive game and when he starts getting things moving. I don't think anyone could question anything he did defensively yesterday. He didn't put, when you think back to it, I think he's been really unfortunate with some of those glaring errors that like the penalties he's given away. One of them wouldn't be a penalty now. The other one was a bit of a subjective call. The back pass against Leicester has kind of, in a way, killed the game in the first 2 minutes because it's thrown out everything that we're going to need to do. But it's an experience thing. It's a learning curve. So, yeah, I think I just hope he's going to just go and get better and better and better. We had earlier in the season, we said we were going to rename our Ben White Man of the Match award to the Robin Koch Man of the Match award because you know how well he's going to play. And, yeah, there's been a few ropey moments, but yesterday wasn't one of those games.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. I've just flashed up a few comments there. Rose-tinted glasses, Oscar.
Oscar, what I'm getting hammered, of course, you put on.
Yeah, of course, man. If it's me, they get blocked or timed out. I'm only joking. No, but obviously people say, what you drinking? And that I genuinely am still dumbfounded, Johnny, saying, I don't get where this is coming from. I thought he was great yesterday.
No, yeah, no. I think the thing is with Robin Koch is people are comparing him to Ben White, who I think obviously that's a natural thing to do. We know we're not wrong for doing that. He's like the only change really in that defence. But Ben White was one of the best centre backs we've had in a long, long time. Some people are saying since Ferdinand and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
But to compare Koch to him, I think it's slightly unfair because those balls that Ben White can spray, offensively crossfield balls were phenomenal. It's going to take time for Robin Koch to be able to adjust that. He's adjusting to a new system. I think it was just that Ben White did it phenomenally and Koch's probably doing it at a normal pace. But like Paul said, defensively, that's what he's there for. He's there to defend. And against Aubameyang, he's kept a clean sheet. So in a way, I don't see he can almost do anything wrong there. I do think that some of his passes were forced potentially too early, but towards the end of the game, when we're on top, you got to force the passes to go forward. It frustrates me more than anything when it's like 92nd minute out of 3 minutes and we're still passing it around the back. It's almost just like get it in the box kind of thing. So I do see what Koch was trying to do. Getting the ball forward. But I think defensively, he was absolutely fine. He's had quite a few mistakes, like the Leicester pass back, Paul said, some penalties. To keep a clean sheet and have a very good defensive performance and some off passes offensively, I don't think that means he had a bad performance. I think he played well.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like someone says here, Jordan Dick says Ben White was in the Championship, Koch's in the Premier League.
Exactly,
there is a huge difference, There's a huge difference coming up against Arsenal as opposed to a Luton, etc. It's just different levels, isn't it? Let's be honest. And I'm a big fan of Robin Koch, and I think the price we paid for him as well is an absolute steal, and it'll turn out to be a masterstroke by Orta and the club personally. Want to move on slightly. Obviously, we've seen the re-emergence of Kalvin Phillips. For me, it was his best performance of the season. I'll go out on a limb and say that. I think Oscar agreed. I know Oscar said it a few times. I thought he was absolutely immense yesterday. I nearly had kittens when he pulled up. I thought he'd had a hammy, and I was like, no, man, that's it. Game over. And then he came back on, and he just was class. And I think my main worry was he'd played through the pain barrier, as we know he will do for the side. Are we then going to hear by Wednesday, Thursday, he's actually going to miss the weekend? Because we can't afford that. Because as good as Strauch is, and the lads at All Stats, aren't we, did some decent analysis and said in terms of numbers, etc., he's actually not performing that dissimilar to what Kalvin is. But for me, it's like chalk and cheese, because Kalvin yesterday was just everywhere. Like, he just covers. I mean, if you look at the performances, I know it's a different team, but every time Leicester or Crystal Palace brought the press, there was just gaps. There was gaps, and there wasn't that yesterday. And a lot of that was due to Kalvin's positional sense. For me, anyway, that's just my personal opinion. I don't profess to know a lot. These guys that know a lot more than me. But just how impressed were you yesterday, Oscar, with Kalvin?
I said on the post-match, mate, I'd have to use the word he was unreal. Yeah, I think him and Click, I thought the whole midfield, to take control of the game. I know, look, Arsenal fans again will moan and moan and moan. Partey wasn't available. And look, Partey's a good player, but you think he was prime Iniesta, the way Arsenal fans are talking about him. He would have scored a hat-trick yesterday, if the way Arsenal fans are going on. But he was superb, Phillips, for me. Definitely, you saw the championship level of dominance from Phillips yesterday, where he looked so much better than any other midfielder on the pitch for me. Any other Arsenal midfielder, it just looked like that kind of difference in quality kind of thing. You haven't necessarily seen that so far this season. I think he's definitely adapted to this game. I think a few times this season he's given the ball away in quite bad areas. Sometimes a little bit like Robin Koch did yesterday, tried to force it a little bit too much. But yesterday, everything was spot on. He knew his passing range was spot on. He knew when to give it short, when to go long, when to pull back, when to push up. Just everything about him was superb yesterday. And it was I can't call it a captain's performance because he isn't a captain for us, but he was a proper leader on that pitch yesterday. The fact he pulled up and played on, and everyone was thinking, oh, is this a bit of a risk? But there was no doubt in Kalvin's mind he was going to play on. And the fact he's come back from injury so quickly sums up the determination levels. His conditioning is absolutely fantastic. I mean, try and get the ball off Kalvin Phillips, try and barge him off the ball. It's impossible. He's not particularly big, Kalvin Phillips, but he's so intelligent. So it's just proper Leeds, isn't he? He is. If you could pick anyone in the last 20 years since David Batty, who's the most Leeds-like player you can think of, it's Kalvin Phillips. There's no question about it. It's just such a big loss. The last couple of weeks not having him there.
Yeah. I thought you said it was such a big loss. I was like, well, it's not died. But this is a great shout. This is a great shout from Grimps Off Your Life. Phillips to be made captain. It's for me. Let's keep that one in the bank for when one of the top 6 side comes calling, and we can go, Kalvin, stay, man. We'll make you captain of this club. And he's like, yeah, I'll stay. We tried that before with a number of players, I think. The likes of Snoddy and Roscoe, etc. It never ended well, but I think it might do for Kalvin. But yeah, Paul, how impressed were you with Kalvin yesterday?
Incredibly impressed. And I think whenever you listen to Kalvin Phillips talk and look at his career to date, I think he will have taken this time to reflect on how the season's gone so far. So whilst it wasn't a good thing for us, taking the positives out of it, he will have spent the time analysing his performances and seeing areas that he could try and improve. He's such a humble bloke, but he was brilliant. He was everywhere. He was breaking things up, doing stuff that's not particularly pretty, but we just completely lacked in those games beforehand. And other than the Villa game, I think the combined loss of Kalvin and Rodrigo have had a huge impact. Because losing Rodrigo to COVID at that point was just cruel, really. So it's when we get a chance, going back to what you said before, having the spine of the team there and being able to go through Kalvin, Rodrigo, Raphinha, Bamford, and Harrison, and having them all playing at the same time, it's going to be frightening. It's something that it's really exciting.
Yeah. I was just having a look on my phone there just to check how much Arsenal played for Xhaka, because I'm just thinking about his counterpart in an Arsenal side. I think 30 to 35 million. If you were to compare them, Kalvin streets ahead of someone like Xhaka, isn't he, Johnny?
Yeah, he is. I mean, Xhaka is one of those players. He obviously had that thing, a debacle where he sort of threw his captain's armband, or was it his shirt or whatever? And
yeah, it was the captain armband, wasn't it? Yeah.
ironic now we're talking about Kalvin being captain and what Jack has been like as a captain before. But I think comparing the two, Kalvin's just so good. I think he's obviously now in that England setup himself. That's testament. He hadn't even played a Premier League game yet, and he was in the England team. Compared to Xhaka, I think, to be fair, almost fairness to Xhaka, I think he's been more consistent than he used to be. But certainly in his early Premier League days, which we're seeing with Kalvin now, he was extremely reckless. A bit kind of Berardi, like loose cannon, but sort of times 100 in a way. Like he's sliding in for any sort of challenges, red cards all over the shop. And we're seeing the early days from Kalvin now. I can't wait to see what he's like in a couple of years. Hopefully, winning the Premier League with Leeds. That's the dream. But no, I think him compared to Xhaka, he's sort of streets ahead, really.
Yeah. It's just absolutely unreal. I think there'll be a lot of opposition fans that'll come and look at that at Kalvin in the flesh. Having seen him for the first time. Because I remember saying, lavishing praise at him for quite some time. Well, since Bielsa came in, let's be honest, because I think a lot of us probably would have thought at the time actually keep Ronnie Vieira instead of Kalvin. If we're being totally honest, if you really look deep within, people will tell you different and say that they always expected this from Kalvin, but I'm not sure that.
You'd have to look. Hey? Bloke next to me at the ground, we call him Barnsley bloke. He calls in. He always says F's sake Phillips, and before that he wanted him on loan to League One. He wasn't having it. So anytime Kalvin's playing well now, you just look at him and he's like,
yeah. But to be fair, you mentioned it right when you had the interview with Phillips, didn't you, on the podcast? Yeah. You mentioned it as well, which was class. To be fair,
I couldn't believe that. That's another one of them things that Andy will bring up with anybody. So you're talking to Kalvin Phillips, and he's like, "There's a bloke who thinks you're shit." And
yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, what was that like? Talk to us about that. Just talk to us about Leeds, how it came about. Obviously, it's a great podcast. For anyone that doesn't or hasn't listened, please do check it out. It's basically it's all in one, isn't it? So you preview the game, then your post-match, all in one podcast, and it's a great listen. I was saying to you earlier, just off air, Paul, I don't know how you managed to keep Andy on a leash, because I can imagine at times he's rock hard to keep in check,
I've had people message me today going, Andy really don't like you, does he? I'm like, no, but we're best mates. But sometimes we have a difference of opinions when one or the other of us has had a couple more drinks, and it's often more him. But it's the idea about that moment where it's all going swimmingly, and then I don't know. You can think there's a million examples. You top at Christmas, blah 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 blah. Leads that. You're playing 10 men for 45 minutes and you have 25 shots. Leads that. So just mates, been going to the games together for years, and we thought we'd give it a go. Do a range of formats. The match day one that's happening the most frequently at the moment because the amount of games, but we enjoy doing the interview podcast as well. So like you say, the most recent interview was with Kalvin Phillips. I think our most infamous one though was that we did the Forshaw interview that got the quote, when anyone now says that Leeds romped the championship, that comes directly from what he said. I mean, it had people like Adrian Childs on 5 Live interviewing Patrick Bamford saying, your colleague Adam Forshaw says that you're going to absolutely destroy the league and stuff. And he sat there going, "Oh, what have we done?" Yeah. And but going back to speaking with Kalvin Phillips, it was just an amazing experience to be able to sit down and listen. And when you're chatting with him and thinking, because to us, if I was a kid doing that, you're speaking to an England player and you're speaking to a Leeds player, and it's someone that you people will look up to and idolise, and we do to an extent. And it's just strange that I'm now several years older than he is, but it was like chatting with one of your mates, because he's that nice and kind that he would sit and have a chat with us about that. But it said a lot about his character and about the character of the squad, and it was really not comfortable, but reassuring chatting to him and him talking about that sort of ethos that's within the team. And I think he said that they haven't set themselves targets. They just go out to win every game. And if they don't do, they move on to the next game. and they have that belief, and it's that togetherness. And when you were talking about Xhaka before and players like that, and Willian went off to Dubai for some urgent essential business during the international break, and you just think we're so lucky to not have any of that at the moment, like, because anyone that had any vague whiff of it, it's why Janssen isn't here anymore, as great as he was. But we're so privileged to have this team at the moment, and all being well, we're going to get to go in and see it in person. But the last thing on Kalvin's kindness is that we just said to him, have you got anything you can donate as a prize? He's like, what do you want? What do you want? So he's donated a signed England shirt that we're going to be able to raffle off for Leeds Food Bank. So we'll send you the details of that in the few coming days when we manage to put that together. And because it's a great opportunity to, win a decent prize, but also carry on with this great cause.
Yeah, great. That's great to hear, Paul, and we will definitely take them details from you and get it posted far and wide. The Kalvin interview was brilliant. The Forshaw one, we got the opportunity to go on Sky TV at the end of the season, and the closing bit. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it, Paul, but as it cuts off, I just shouted, in the words of Adam Forshaw, romped it, mate. It was brilliant, man. So, what an interview that was. I know a lot of people, do you know what frustrates me is, I don't know if you had that experience after this, is when we lose, if I've talked up Leeds United prior to the game, I get the blame for it. I've had people message and go, I blame Joe because he said we're going to get top four. And I'm like, I have I am not on the pitch. Like, what do you mean? Did you get any of that after that Forshaw interview?
It was after the Cardiff game. I was in a group chat with some lads, and someone went on and went, but Forshaw mouthing off this, that, the other. And then went, oh, sorry, Paul, that was your interview, wasn't it? I'm like, it's fine.
It is, man. It's mad.
You open yourself up, doing this kind of stuff, don't you? You open yourself up to it. You're putting your opinions out there, and it's just opinions. And ultimately, it's mates having a laugh and a chat. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. You can do what you like with it. But it's great to have these opportunities, and we're just enjoying it.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, send some love our way, and hopefully we can get a player at some point. We'd love something like that. But honestly, great work, Paul, on Leeds. It's a great listen, and anyone that's listening and that hasn't, make sure you check it out. And you're doing a bit of merch as well, I believe, Paul. Is that right?
Yeah, I'll just get that out there. My t-shirt. So if you head to shop.leedsthat.com, we've just managed to turn this into a Christmas jumper as well, because certain official club websites have run out of all shapes and sizes. So if you are looking for your Leeds United merch fix, look no further.
Yeah, it's funny actually, because I got an email off the club shop yesterday saying was it this morning? Early Black Friday deals, you're a season ticket holder, right? So I went on, and one of the tops, and literally it was sold out except for a small. So I was like, well, what's the point in that? Like, you're telling me here's 50%. Yeah, it's 50% because you got one size left, not because it's Black Friday.
Extra small.
Yeah, exactly. Johnny, what is it you've been up to? I know you do a bit of YouTube and stuff. You've started the pod with the Leeds TV stuff.
Back in the beginning of lockdown, I've always wanted to do like sort of media kind of stuff like that. So I started the YouTube channel. Must admit, since I came to university in September, I haven't sort of touched it and uploaded it in a while. But I'd like to kickstart that again. But I've been working with the guys at Leeds TV, sort of LS Local, like the sort of Freeview channel in Leeds. We've started a new podcast, the Bremner Square podcast. That's been kicking off last couple of weeks. Sort of just reviewing the game, previewing the next one, and sort of discussing any other news sort of surrounding Leeds United as well. So it's good fun, that.
Cool, man. We'll make sure we put the links out. I think it's on Facebook. Is that right? Is it more of a Facebook Live kind of thing?
Yeah, it's it gets live streamed. We were going to do a live stream this week, but we're not. We did one tonight instead. But yeah, they usually live stream most Thursdays on Facebook on the Leeds TV Facebook page. If you like that over there, then I think if you like the Facebook page, you'll get notified when it goes live. So it's mainly 8 o'clock every Thursday. So yeah,
cool.
Thank you.
Cool. No worries, pal. So just before we do your five-a-sides team that we're, I think Paul, he mentioned earlier on about Pablo being one of the greatest players, and we've only ever had, is it 2 now, Oscar? Because did Mickey not include Pablo in his, you muted, pal.
He's done it again.
I know, yeah, you always do.
Mickey didn't have Pablo in. He gave us a 40-minute explanation as to why, but he definitely didn't have Pablo in.
We tried to keep this to an hour or as close to. Mickey Pico, when you start him, he gets going, and we ended up doing an hour and 40 minutes. Then when we got off it, me and Oscar still spoke to Mickey for about another hour. So Mickey just prepared to sit and listen for a while. But he's a great lad, as you would expect. There was something I was going to say, but I forgot. So I'll tell you what it was. Obviously, we've heard today from the government, there's an opportunity that we could be getting in grounds pretty sharpish, really, to be fair. Obviously, the 2nd of December, we're coming out of lockdown. They've said that Tier 3 will be 4,000 fans, Tier 2, 2,000 fans, I believe. And if you're in Tier 1, then no. Is that right, guys? Is that
sort of the other way around?
Is the other way around? I think maybe.
That's no one, but nearly there.
everyone with COVID in Tier 3 going straight into the ground.
I got me tickets right. Okay. Ultimately, there's an opportunity that we could have 4,000 fans back in the ground, man. How does that make you feel, boys? Anyone tell me?
Yeah, I'm confused really as to why it's a specific number rather than a percentage, because we've got a massive stadium, but it's better than nothing, isn't it? And it's a start. Because there's been points this year where I thought it's not going to happen at all. And obviously you're going to end up in some kind of lottery or draw, but I will be pleased for anyone who gets to get into the ground.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that, like you mentioned there, they're going to do it on some lottery style thing, and maybe you get to select a number of games and you'll only get to go to one in that sequence. I just hope that the game I select is a big game and I don't get Burnley at home. All your mates are like, oh, we're going to Scum at home, and I'm like, oh, I got Burnley. Like, I'm fuming. But how excited are you, Johnny, with the prospect of getting back in there, possibly before Christmas, man?
Yeah, it'd be great. I think they said, is it December the 2nd when the lockdown ends? So they'll potentially from then on, that'll be great. Like, I'm not a season ticket holder. I'm a gold member. Luckily, I've moved up to uni up north. I've sort of coming up north thinking, great, I can go to games every week, and now they've chucked a lockdown in. But no, I mean, I've sort of come to the realization I probably won't be going this season because I'm not a season ticket holder. But like Paul said, if anyone gets to go, it'd be great. You're obviously praying for the games. I think it's the run in April where we've got like United, Liverpool, then City, we've already played City at home, but United and Liverpool.
Yeah, City away, isn't it? Yeah. I think we've got Liverpool, Chelsea, City away, then Man United, something like that, like all in a run. Hopefully we'll be back.
Johnny, you just called them United.
Yeah.
Sorry. Scum of it. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
We've had that. We've had that before. We had we do a show on a Friday, and we had Hal on, who's a Sheffield United fan, and one of the lads, Danny, kept calling him Sheffield, and he kept saying, "We are not Sheffield. Stop calling us Sheffield." He just wasn't happy, bunny. But no, great. But I'm going to hand over to Oscar now, and he's going to take us through your 1 to 5. So, Oscar, over to you, my man.
Let's go to Paul first. Let's so just going to flash your team up, mate.
Yeah.
Talk us through that one.
So I didn't know what. Well, I said, "What's the criteria? Is it who you've seen or whichever?"
Well,
So I've gone for this, and it's based on the fact that I think that currently we've got the fittest team going. So whilst we may have had more creative players or harder players in the past, I actually started this thinking I'm having Alioski in, and he's in any team, and then I've ended up getting round to it and not bothering. So I've gone Melier just because I thought, he's quite tall and he'll fit more of the goal. But actually, he's a good shot stopper and he can play a bit, can't he? And I want someone who's going to be able to play a bit. Luke, and then I've gone for players who in those positions will get constantly up and down, other than Pablo, who's just allowed to do what he wants because he's Pablo. But the amount of games Click's played in a row and the work he does, and I thought that's why he ended up in front of Phillips. Because I thought he can still break it up a little bit, and you don't have to be that hard in five-a-side. And gone for Jack Harrison because of his touch and because of his control in those tight spaces that I thought had put him ahead of and his finishing, to be honest. So, yeah, that's where we've ended up. And I think I would have them playing against any five-a-side team throughout our past. Because I was thinking, I'll have Viduka or I'll have this, and it's where I've ended up. I'd like to see them playing.
Nice, I like that. I mean, it's the first time we've seen Harrison up front. Like you say, we do get a lot of Viduka. We even had Michael Bridges, Josh Hobbs from All Stats, haven't we? Went for Michael Bridges, but Pablo Hernandez he's a fixture in there. He's always in there. We've only ever had two that haven't had him in, and they're of the older generation in Gaz from Talking Shut and Mickey Peaker, but the majority of people have Pablo in there. But it's a great side. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure on it.
Does it break the rules, though, Joe?
What you say?
Are we saying it's breaking the rules? We let Ben off? Are we going to tighten the rules up and that only centre forwards up front? Are we? What's the thoughts?
Yeah,
I did ask that, to be fair, but equally, Bielsa has said many times that he would employ Jack Harrison up front if needs be. So, I mean, are we going to disagree with Marcelo?
I did say though, we are at risk.
Retirement there, Paul. To be fair, I'll give you that.
Yeah. I think Ben's response was, well, Bielsa's played Kalvin at centre back, and I went, yeah, but if we start doing that, if players have played there, we're going to end up with one person putting Radaby in goal or Pontus in goal. You know what I mean? Just say, play rush keeper, and I'll have Radaby. Go on, Os.
So Johnny, we're going to go on to your team now, mate. We're going to go on to some interesting selections here, mate. Talk us through the ball.
Well, I sort of base mine off sort of the players I managed to see play for Leeds. I sort of, I'm obviously a younger fan, so I don't know. I didn't really want to base it off sort of the ones I sort of heard of, but went for the ones I've seen. Paul Green, Rob Green in goal. So Paul Green, he's the old one back from 2000.
Yeah,
so
don't
put
Paul Green in goal.
Can I use the same excuse Bielsa once said Paul Green would be great in goal? So no, I can't put it. No, Rob Green in goal. I guess Melier's probably the better choice. I just remember Rob Green being quite a good shot stopper, and actually I remember that penalty save against Sheffield Wednesday. I think it was Jordan Rhodes. He did get quite a few penalties in five-a-side, so I put Rob Green in there. Obviously Ben White's, I think for me, is if you had to pick one defender, he's been the best in recent years. The only one to get us up. I think he's more astute than Liam Cooper in a sort of five-a-side layout. And yeah, I just think on the ball as well, he's quality to play those balls into midfield. So yeah, put Ben White in there, and then I guess Pablo Hernandez is obviously that sort of obvious one, isn't he? A magician. He'll be able to work the space on a five-a-side pitch easily. And to be honest, with Kalvin Phillips, probably have him a little deeper. Obviously on there, it looks like I've done a bit of a Thomas Christensen and chucked him as a number 10 role. But I've had him more as a probably a little bit behind Hernandez. And then Ross McCormack, just because he carried us for a good 2-3 seasons. I feel like, if there's any way to thank him, it's putting him in my five-a-side team, to be honest. But no, there's goals coming out of him, left, right, and centre, bicycle kicks, left foot, right foot, head. Trying to think of the strikers in recent years who have done well. Obviously, Chris Wood's another one. Bamford at the moment this season, but I thought McCormack to go up there. Obviously, Becchio is an obvious one as well. But I went with McCormack. I think he's a bit nimble and good enough for a five-a-side pitch.
Yeah, I think McCormack could tear it up at five-a-side.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you reckon, Oscar? Who's the better side there, mate? Because we do run a poll. We run a poll afterwards. We put it out on social media. So who do you think's getting the better one out of them, Oscar?
It's a tight game, It's a really tight game. I think McCormack's probably definitely got more goals than Harrison. But, I mean, work rate-wise, I think the difference in the two, I mean, you couldn't really get much more different, could you? You think at one end of the scale to the other one in terms of your centre forward, but it's a tight game, isn't it, mate?
Might depend how long the match is then.
That's the thing, yeah. If we're talking a 5-minute lunch break game, then I think Johnny's team wins this. But I'll go Paul just purely just for the energy. I mean, Click, Harris and Ayling. I'm going to go for it. Yeah,
you take any side with Click in it. Let's be honest. You absolutely love that, man. I understand why.
That is the bias.
Can do no wrong.
Yeah, I think Click's the man I regret not putting in there. I think Click for Phillips, maybe. I think then that would have probably, I don't know, I think that'd probably been a much better side. So sort of forgot
you win the game that way, Johnny. You win the game.
Yeah,
you win the game. You put Click in there, you win the game.
No.
I still pinch myself moments, to think what we paid for Click. I think it's absolutely insane. He's been the one constant for me, he's been my player of the season so far. He's just been fucking fantastic, hasn't he? But boys, before we end, I'm going to give you a chance to plug your stuff here. All right. So Paul, where can we find you? I know we've already sort of done it, but yeah, we always like to leave it with that. Talk to us about Leeds That, my friend.
Yeah, find us at Leeds That on all social and leedsthat.com. The stores there, shop.leedsthat.com. But sort of our bread and butter is really the Matchday podcast. As you said before, we do a little preview before the game and then talk about our immediate thoughts straight afterwards and mash it together and release it afterwards. So you get a perspective of how sober we were beforehand and what we were thinking was going to go on, and then just how wrong we were afterwards generally. Yeah. So it's worth looking for that.
Do we think once lockdown's out, we'll get the gazebo back?
Oh yeah, I mean the gazebo was a great feature as well. To be fair, that was a lot of fun, and it allowed you to be together. And in the summer month, it rained a couple of times, but it was great. That was coming out of lockdown and being able to go and meet up with your mates in someone's garden and spend the time together, socially distancing deck chairs in a couple of gazebos with a telly on in the garden. It was class. It was a lot of fun. That so maybe not in the winter months, but we'll see how we get on.
Yeah, but you're a northerner, man. You should be able to do it. Sit there in shorts and t-shirt like that.
To be fair. Yeah, I don't know why I said that because the rest of them would definitely do it. So I'll be, If he says we can do it next week, we're doing it next week. Perfect.
Johnny, where can we find you, mate? What can we expect? What's coming up for Johnny Chick? That's quite a cool name, that, isn't it? It's just like Johnny Chick.
Yes, to be fair, through primary school you sort of get bullied with the name Chick, but now I don't mind it as much. But I'm on Twitter. I think it's right to saying Johnny Chick with 2 underscores. I want to try and revamp the YouTube a bit more, sort of getting previews, reviews out on there. So I think that's Johnny Chick on YouTube as well. And then Bremner Square Podcast on Facebook. If you go onto Leeds TV, if you follow their Twitter, like their Facebook page, I think it's LS Local TV on Twitter. Then you can find the links there, and they're live as well. So feel free to join them as well.
Cool. And before you go, Johnny, I want to get a score prediction for the Everton game. Do we win, and what score?
I went for, because we just recorded a podcast previous to this, I feel like I can't not say the same one. I went for 4-3 Leeds. I'm going goals with this one.
Nice. Paul.
Shit.
It's better than Grealish.
I saw that Grealish one earlier, fuming.
I thought he was going to say it's actually pronounced chic.
If I was pronounced chic, I'd be worth 25 million, and I'd be straight into any team in the world.
Yeah, you'd have turned us down tonight and said, "Sorry, guys, I'm doing something else."
I'll go 2-0 Leeds.
Nice.
Got to find my shooting boots on Saturday and keep them.
We have to ahead of that game against him and that side in London. I honestly, my hatred for them is slowly meeting Scum level. Just because
we'd never have guessed, mate. We'd never have guessed that at all.
No, it's like I never thought I'd say that, but it's because Scum are so shit and irrelevant. Like Chelsea are they're just there, you know, and it's because he's in charge as well. I can't stand them. And we cannot lose that game. We literally can't lose that game because I'm going to hiding. But thank you so much for tuning in. Oscar, do you want to give us your Everton score prediction?
3-2 Leeds.
Nice. We've got to stop DCL, haven't we? We've got to stop DCL. Big performance needed. But thank you both for coming on. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully, have you on again later. Or Paul, if any of your friends on Leeds that want to come on, we would welcome them on as well. So we'll leave it there. Thank you all for coming in.
You want to chat with Andy, don't you? You want Andy on, don't you?
No, I'll have Andy on.
Heineken's Andy.
Because we get. Don't drink Heineken, but we have obviously Mickey P. Kerr on the wine. That's his tipple. And I get the feeling that Andy could be a little bit like Mickey once he's on the drink, in that they just keep going and it's so hard. It's like, I want to go to bed, man. Stop talking.
We'll get him on.
Yeah, we'll get him on. Good times. Thanks everyone for tuning in.